Hello everyone and welcome back. So, this is going to be a long video. Almost 30 minutes, probably over 30 minutes with this intro and the outro. Anyway, I just want to say that this is an emotional video. I almost cried when I recorded this. It's taken me 3 days, I think, more or less three afternoons, 3 days after I got home from work and haven't eaten. And anyway, it really took a bit out of me, but I like it. I like the story a lot, and I hope you enjoy it. I really hope you enjoy it. So, without further ado, I bring you the Hound. You are a Hellhound. You are a demon thing of the Hellions, forged with a heart of fire and eyes like rubies set in obsidian. You have claws that no armor is proof against, and your howl is a scream of the damned. You are strong, hideously so. You are fast, you are carnage, your body is lithe with corded muscles and tufts of shielding fur. Your nose can smell lies, and your ears can hear the lamentations of dead menfolk. You are old, you are wise. Your life is long, longer than that of menfolk, but your kind is cursed with arrogance and short-sightedness. Yet you are not like your sister hounds. You do not throw your body into bloody raids, savaging knights and absconding with children from guarded villages. You are careful, you are quiet, you're old because you can think, you can adapt, and you can kill with efficiency. But of your wisdom you also know that you can choose not to kill. You can resist the siren song of spilt blood that so many of your kind are lost to. You are a silvered one. You are a hellhound that has lived long enough to see your tail be striped with silver fur. You have become one of the old legends. It means nothing to you. It does not matter. It does not change your daily struggle in the weltering forests along the coastal region of this world. You are far from your rightful territory. You have wandered far beyond the natural range of your species, and because of it, you are unfamiliar and unaccustomed to this region. It is not without great hesitation that you claim to have a purpose in your wandering. The dark, dismal, and wicked grooves you called home were abundant with meek and cowardly menfolk, poorly guarded farms, and weakling kings and feudal lords. You walked with power and authority on the paved roads of man. None dared to question you, and all those who came before your shadow paid tribute. You have your reasons for leaving, reasons best not ruminated upon. Your wanderings has taken you far from home, from deep in the northern lands, down the southern coast that stretches past the ever-growing crag mountains and lethal snowfields that surrounds them. You have wandered through the abysmal forest of ancient pines, and followed the storm river to the verdant plains of the Fae, the enchantments of the little winged beings posing no threat to you. Your journeys has led you here, upon a hill overlooking a lush field of sparsely populated fruit-bearing groves, encircling a pleasant roadside village of menfolk. It borders the ocean, Upon its green-blue waves, fisher boats crest the subtile waves with lines dragging in the water and sails blowing at full mast. There is commotion on the docks as a long-mast ship tightens its moorings and the sea bounty begins to be offloaded. The humans are happy and cheerful. They are content with their lives. They would surely buckle and break if an old monster like you were to skulk among them. You've done it plenty enough times before. You skip down the rocky slope and vanish into the underbrush of the grooves. Small streams of crystal water running down from the snow-tipped mountains glisten in the twilight spell of the golden-kissed autumn leaves. You can hear birds and insects, the gossamer webs of spiders strung along the branches, and the turpentine musk smell of rabbits and squirrels. Off in the distance, among the trunks of venerable blossoming apple trees, you can see a herd of razor-horned deer. This is no place for the likes of you, coal-black fur and darkened skin. You are a hellion creature, born of unfulfilled grudges and arrogant menace. You exist to hunt the unpunished and be slain by champions. You do not belong here in the land of the fruitful, where all women are maidens, and then men are proud lords. Your ears perk and shift. You stop in your meandering when you can clearly hear the shouting raucous of the village. This is far enough, as far as you will go. Still hidden under the shade of the apple groves and masked by the burbling brooks, you search around you. Plenty of underbrush, tall grass and bushes. You are most at home in the caves and dark places about the mountain region, but this shaded groove will do nicely as well. It will suit your needs well enough until you find a place to die. You wake up the next morning at daybreak, a stick sharply jabbing into your side twice over. Your eyes open with a prodding pain. You sit upright with a start, growl boiling in your chest as you inhale the scent of menfolk. Your ears make out the clumsy snap-crackle of human footfalls. Your eyes show you the boy. The picture comes together at once. A boy in a weathered stained brown tunic, frayed at the seams and re-sewn many times over. He is barefoot and dirty. His skin is tan from many days under the sun's glare, most likely working the fields as his hands are calloused and his fingernails worn. He has a stick in his hands, its tip you are familiar with. His face is young and boyish, hair brown and unkempt, eyes bright and blue with youthful innocence, more so, free of any fear. As you study him, senses assuring you of no other company, he pokes you again, stick pressing into your side with sudden energy. You grunt, surprised. With a motion you grab it by the midsection and swiftly break it, putting an end to that game. You are awake now, rubbing your eyes of sleep. You blink again and stand. This boy before you, belly coming up to your waist, must be no older than 8, maybe 10 if you're generous, staring up at you with doe-eyed innocence. He just stares, curious and mute. It is a moment before you know how to respond. You're alone in a grove, and the village is some ways away. Did he wander off? Run away? Your thoughts are interrupted when the child reaches out and grabs a handful of your furry thigh, an action that gives you reason to pause, simply out of the sheer audacity required. You take the boy's hand in your own. Strong enough to crush bones, you gently remove his grasp. Your mouth curls into an uncertain frown. You did not expect your first encounter with the people of this land to be in such a manner. In fact, you had hoped to have no interaction at all. So it is so you chance your luck and try to talk to this strange, fearless boy. "Hey kid, you know you're supposed to be scared of me, right?" you say, leaning over the prepubescent boy, shadow casting an ominous gloom. "I mean, I'm a hellhound after all, see? Roar!" You show your claws and bare your fangs, iron-hard implements glinting in the morning light like rusted cleavers. The boy continues to say nothing, staring up at you with those big, brown, innocent eyes full of hope and wanderlust. It is in danger of making your heart melt. You don't understand why a human child is capable of making you feel like this. In the old lands, you've had your share of children offered to you by fearful villages. You've done terrible things, horrible things, and you haven't batted an eye. So why now? "Come on, kid, leave. I let you off the hook this one time, so scram. Go. Get out of here." You try to push him away, flicking him with your tail but never pressing too hard. Instead he grabs a hold of your leg, pulling himself close and snuggling deep into the fur there. Hey, get off!" you snap. "Settle down, will ya?" You pull at his head, uncharacteristically worried about your claws nicking his scalp. You stumble back as he latches on further, and you tip over. You hit the ground, landing on your rear with a heavy thump as leaves swirl up around you. You growl low and haunting, the boy still clinging to you, even going as far as to crawl up your leg and look at you again, smiling toothily as if pleased with his minor victory. You hesitate, barely acquiescing, and smile back, hesitance pulling at your lips. He doesn't leave, staying close to your side the whole day until dusk begins and bells can be heard from the village. He came tomorrow again, watching you with that innocent, wide-eyed stare from behind a tree. He acted like he was hidden, even though you looked at him directly, going about your business. You're old enough that such things like this do not annoy you as they would others of your kind. The young bloods especially, they would ravage the boy without thought of consequences. You are far more stable, far more versed in the goings-ons of the world. While her species, the Hellhound, brutal and feared, they are few in numbers and solitary. Fights for territory were always to the death. Even young pups were subject to this. Instincts driving them wild, only the strong and vicious were able to breed, able to steal away men from the crowded villages and towns. You have no offspring. You have never cared to try. You're making a nest, a bed of sorts. You've made your home in a shaded grove, a large maple making out the center. You wander around, searching through the tall grass for sticks and branches. You carry bundles of them back to the foot of the tree. A natural area encircled by roots is now lined by interwoven branches and moss. You fill the center with fibrous fern leaves and long grasses. It is as comfortable as you can make it. This is what you call home. You will sleep here until you no longer can. Then you will move on to the next place that will take you. The boy, lurking behind the tree at the edge of the grove, watches you through this. It is when you trample flat the fern leaves and grass in your bed, when you lay down and exhale, then does he enter the clearing fully. Proud and bold, he walks up to your nest. You open one eye and glare at him, wishing him away to no effect. His hands paw at your ears, much to your annoyance. Feeling them and rubbing, you turn over in your bed, facing away from this incessant boy. This proves to be an error. Seconds later you stiffen as you feel young hands comb through the fur of your tail. A low whine chokes your throat as the boy pets your tail from base to tip. Slow and evenly, you feel a shiver run up your spine, and your back arches, as if presenting him with more of you to touch. You fight back into control and quickly turn over again, this time facing the boy. At once his hands go for your ears. A no less intense target, but more manageable. You shut your eyes and try to doze off in the warm autumn weather. After some time, a warm body snuggles up to you. He came again tomorrow, staring at you from behind an oak tree, acting as if you couldn't see him again, like before. You try to ignore him, instead focusing on your own tasks at hand. Grooming and rest, busy over nothing. It doesn't work out so well. The moment you shut your eyes, soaking up the early morning sun as it sparkles down through the canopy, you feel small hands kneading your belly fur, drawing in tight fistfuls of your pelt before letting go. It's enough to earn grunts from you, opening your eyes and staring down at the boy, trying to menace him away. He only returns to stare at you with those innocent and unreadable looks, bright blue eyes wide and open, mouth pursed shut in demanding curiosity. You huff, looking away from innocence. Again you're old. You're unlike the young bloods. They would savage this child's body in an instant. You make room, scooting over, and the boy plops down next to you under the shade of the birch. The air is fragrant with new harvest. The smell of the ocean is hinted in the wind coming from the distant coastline. There are bird songs, beetle chirps, the grass rustle, and clouds floating placidly over a blue canvas. You are able to ignore the boy, able to focus on your own task and let him rest by you, his curious gaze unobtrusive towards your concentration. Later that day, you are at the river, and the boy is watching you fish. You are knee-deep in the flowing current. Your tail is raised, trying to keep it out of the water, as your hands are poised above the surface, razor claws glistening with fresh wetness. You are poised and focused, looking for silvers under the surface, the betrayal of flashing scales. You have had several failed attempts so far. This is a technique that is not natural to you, but you've seen it done, and right now you'll try whatever you can get. Your belly is running on empty. The boy is watching from the river's edge. He stifles his laughter whenever you miss and only splash yourself. It stokes your ire, but you cannot remain mad for long. You are cursing after your sixth failure, wondering how you managed to get the first one at all. You manage to grab some. Your reflexes are by far and away fast enough. It is just that you are not able to sink your claws in fast enough that is causing you failure. It's around the sixth or seventh failure that the boy stands up and jogs off. You paid no heed though you watch him leave, making sure he manages to clear the rock ledge that leads down to the stream. It's a steep embankment and difficult at the best of times. He returns just under an hour later. He's carrying twine and a knife. He takes the knife and finds a twig. Out of its shape he carves a rudimentary hook with a barb. It is this that he ties off to the end of the twine, and before long he has a grub wrapped around the makeshift hook and is casting upstream, letting his twine hook drift downriver. Within 3 casts of his twine the bait is taken and a fish strikes, hooking itself, and with careful pulls the boy lands an exquisite fish. He holds it up, still on the hook, beaming. You cannot help but feel discouraged yet proud. He is clearly pleased with himself, and you meant to smile despite the groaning in your stomach. That damned human ingenuity. You haven't even thought about trying something like that. It never even crossed your mind. When he hands you the fish he caught, you don't know what to say. All you can do is awkwardly hug the boy. The day after comes and your belly has had its fill. The boy gives you his makeshift line. He brings friends this time, other boys and girls, a small group of them. 5 in number, they gasp and squeal at the sight of you. You're half tempted to scare them off. These ones clearly not as fearless as the boy. You don't do that, however. You try to look as non-menacing as possible. It's a good chance that these children would run and tell their families, and in turn these families may actually believe their children, and send a hunter into the woods to confirm your presence. You don't know how, you don't know why you acquiesce, but they goad you into a game of theirs. They make you play tag with them, they make you play hide and seek. It is no effort to you, but you go with the charade. You feel warm, happy even, doing so. It is pleasant. The boy comes alone this day. He's not like he usually is. His eyes seem dull, unfocused. There's a scent about him and his hair is unkempt more than usual. He seems sullen, broken, and terrified. You are immediately concerned. He manages his way over to you. You don't know any better. You don't know what to do. So you go with instinct. It's only natural at this point. You reach out and pull him into your embrace, his head resting against your chest. Now that he's close to you, you can smell it clearly now. On him, the odor of a man, an adult, a mature human. You can smell the sweat beneath his hair and soap. More importantly, you can smell the... He starts to cry and you can imagine what happened. You don't want to. The true beasts like you, those who eschew the trappings of civilization, you can understand why they do it. They scavenge for food and children to spawn. But when it comes to humans, when it comes to things like this, you don't understand. You don't understand about how it could happen in the first place, how it can be allowed to happen. It sparks a fire in your heart and igniting the underlying ember in the pits of your stomach that is called rage. It's an ember you almost act on, but instead you just hug the boy closer. You try to tell him he'll be alright. He spends the night like this, huddled against your chest, gripping the fur like it was the last safety net afforded to him. He doesn't leave your side the next day, nor does he let you leave, feeling all too much like a mother hen in the process. He has to go back eventually, and you reluctantly see him leave. You almost wish you had the courage to keep him with you, and in the coming days you wish you had. The village burns in the distance. demon-birthed flames scouring through the streets and setting market stands and cottages ablaze. That doesn't matter to you right now, because the boy had come again. You cradle him in your arms, your heavy paws used only rendering through armor and meat, only familiar to fighting and bloodshed, feels inadequate for the task of holding this one singular human child. You're on your knees and the air feels hot. You keep remembering those times he would wander into your territory, oblivious and simple, always unafraid. Always looking for you, hugging your leg, distracting you from whatever you are doing, crying for your attention like some lost pup. He would always go back to the orphanage on his own will, never yours, and you recall being worried that he might get lost on the way, or some monster might find him. You recall the days he didn't show up and you grew anxious, and the days he would show up and you would act aloof as always, despite being relieved. You call the anger that threatened to take you over when he showed up with bruises all over his body and crying in your arms. You rock him gently. You can feel the blood that pours hot from the stump of his arm and the ruined side of his face. It drips down your body like a wound of your own. With the blood goes the heat from him, and from the heat his life. He stutters one last time, and he's finally silent. You never knew his name. For the first time in your life you are scared of your own strength as you set the body of the boy down, trying not to disturb a single remaining feature of him, as you gingerly tuck him under the midnight shade of a fern. Your eyes are stinging as you stand again. You don't know why. The fire flares red hot from the corner of your glaring gaze, and bright they spark and burn. You turn to face the village. You don't know why your chest heaves and your heart beats heavy. You don't know why your eyes sting and your tears fall freely. All you know is that someone is going to die. It is within time that you finally return to your senses. You stand amidst a sea of corpses. Gremlins, goblins, orcs and trolls. They lay about in heaps of broken meat and tattered limbs. Your bodies are ruined sack with cuts and holes, and filled with broken bones and pulverized flesh. You're missing an ear, torn off, leaving a jagged mess of bloody cartilage. Several fingers are gone, claws are smashed. You can feel the ribs grind in your chest. Something in your pelvis is cracked, and your right leg is impossible to move without feeling the bone splinters tearing through muscle. It is also twisted the wrong way below the knee, and your tail is severed. You run your tongue along the inside of your mouth. Fangs are chipped and missing. You can't see out of your right eye, and your nose is broken. It hurts to move at all. Even breathing is painful in the extreme. Your heart beats weakly. It stings and ceases erratically. You only half manage to drag yourself out of the ruined village. You make it to the forest edge before you collapse. Your memories are haze. Things come back as a blended mess. Bits and pieces come together to form a blur that yields a frightening display of carnage and bloodshed. It takes a moment to correlate last night's events into something feasible. Then you remember the boy and his body. It is right where you left it. as peaceful and dead as you last saw him. You don't know what to do next. You dig a grave that you then fill. You gather stones to make a cairn. You think of words to say, but none come to mind. And then it is time to move on again. So, that was a journey, wasn't it? I want to thank you for listening to this, and I really hope you liked it. So, this is the end of the video. I should always say something in this video in the end, but I don't know what. If you like this video, please share it. It really helps me. And do give this a thumbs up, and do give a comment. Actually, comments are actually good, so leave a comment. Tell me what you thought. Should I continue this, or should I not? That's up to you, my dear audience. So, without further ado, I bid you farewell. Good night, world.